Welcome to my first segment of Football Talk. I wanted to use this first segment as an opportunity to speak on something that is super passionate to me, and that is the sport of football, the game of football, and even more so, coaching football, as I've had the opportunity to not only play football, but more so recently, coach football. And I could write a book on the impact that it's left on me as I've been able to use the countless life lessons that are taught through the game of football that transcend the sport and that I apply to day-to-day life, and how as a coach you're able to impact the youth that are going to go on in the next generation to be the next leaders and be in whichever various positions that they're going to end up being outside of the game of football. And being a part of that is it's a joyful feeling, to say the least. And as I do often, I urge, like I said before, males who are able and are willing to get out there and coach. You know, it's a great way to give back to your community. I am a person who often and is actively giving back as much as I possibly can and volunteering in my community. So I know that this is a great way to just use a few hours out of your week and be able to impact many kids in your community. So without further ado, let's get into it. I could easily shoot 25 different tips or keys for anyone that's looking to get into coaching youth football. But as someone who's had now 5 years of total coaching experience, 1 at a high school level as a defensive back coach and 4 as a youth coach as an assistant, I can come up with these 5 and say that these are 5 definitely necessary keys that you want to take into consideration as you're looking to and hopefully get into coaching. So let's get into it. Number 5, take your time adjusting regardless of your level of football knowledge. And I want to speak to the guys that may have played even at the pro level, college, high school, and feel like you have a very good knowledge of the game. Don't get overzealous. We tend to get very passionate about the game. Warning, ego is a part of the sport, and you will definitely at some point in time encounter ego personified at the youth level of football. Believe it or not, it is crazy, and I would say it even goes further than the high school level, but that's another topic for another time. Don't let your knowledge of the game and X and O's get you overexcited and to the point that you forget that this is more than coaching technique and fundamental. Yes, that's a priority. You definitely want to make coaching technique, fundamental, X's and O's a focus. However, there are different nuances and from playing the game itself, where you're asked to just execute a set of tasks, and you, depending on your position, may be responsible for obviously yourself and maybe one other player or position on the field. Obviously, if you're a quarterback, you have a lot more responsibilities on the field. But in a coaching situation, you're managing 22 players. Okay, you're 11 on each side if you're a head coach, and even as a positions coach, you're managing both sides of the field. So and a game in an entirety, as opposed to just one aspect of the game. And there's just like different little things, like for instance, how you view the game you have to train your eyes to view the game from a more panoramic view than you as someone that's just as a spectator, as like let's say you're watching a game on Saturday or Sunday, and the way you view the game on television as someone just spectating the game has to change as someone who is managing the actual players on the field and acting as a coach. The whole visual perspective has to completely change. That's just one thing. Get adjusted to the organization, the players. Different organizations are ran differently. For one, in regions, players are numbered in the offensive system in the West Coast and in parts of the Midwest differently than the East. There's different terminologies, different philosophies. One thing I learned, and this will probably be revisited in this video, is one thing that I've learned and I've experienced is that there's a lot of different approaches to this game. There's a lot of different ways to get to the goal, which is to win, obviously. And so, with that being said, it really helps to take time and kind of just be observant. Maybe your first year you may not want to take on. I would definitely, if you're a beginning coach, regardless of your knowledge, I would not necessarily, unless you have to, there's no other choice, I wouldn't take on a head coaching responsibility. I definitely wouldn't advise that. I would advise an assistant or maybe a position coach type of role for someone just beginning as a coach. And once again, this is regardless of your level and understanding of the game of football, because it really takes some adjustment as a coach, and the different aspects that are required of you as a coach. So you got to work in sync. It always helps to be in sync with the other coaches on your team. And then with on the youth level, parents come into play a lot. As you probably see on social media, parents can get out of hand, whether at games, at practice, and their demands or their expectations for their child. And so that in itself could be an issue that needs to be managed. And that's something that happens, quite frequently. So that's just something you may get into and transition into dealing with very smoothly. That may be something you may not be a great communicator or be used to conflict resolution in that type of setting. You may need some time to get used to assessing or being able to assess these situations and diffuse them as quickly and as efficiently as possible, because you're definitely going to have them on some level, whether it be internally with coaches or with parents. Trust me, at some point the conflict is coming. So that's number 5. Number 4, be teachable, open-minded. And this kind of piggybacks off of number 5, which is basically being patient and taking your time into your coaching process and transitioning into your coaching process, whether you're just starting out fresh and learning how to coach, or learning the nuances of the game, the X's and O's of the game, or whether you're an expert of the game. Be teachable. Listen, this game is constantly evolving. What it was in 1920 when Pop Warner was drawing up or creating a single wing offense is completely different from what it is right now, and what is being done from pro level to youth level. I'm in my mid-40s. When I played youth football, it was all about power wing. We played power I set, and maybe we may show a spread gun formation on a 3rd and long. That's what the game was, and now there's 9U, 8U teams out there running spread and air raid concepts. this is what it is in 2024. So the athleticism obviously has changed the way that the game is approached nowadays, with the way defensive ends are blocked or schemed nowadays. That's changed. Defensive sets have now changed. So don't feel like, okay, I know this game, I played football before, or even I watch some football. I watch football every Sunday. I know what I call it out where this player should be positioned. I know what's going on. Trust me. Be teachable. You may be in once again, there's different approaches and different philosophies to this game. One coach may have a completely different philosophy from the coach or coaches that you were under, and so be respectful of that. Number 3, understanding your roles. It's much more to coaching than X's and O's. Sometimes your therapist, motivator, an extension of parents. Hey, it is what it is. Listen, at the youth level, you could be dealing with anywhere from, I would say, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. If you're with the younger bunch, anywhere up to 13 or 14-year-olds. So then you have kids that are going through hormonal and biological changes. Whether it's 6 to 14, these are ages in which the children are having different experiences. They're learning themselves from a physical standpoint and also from a mental standpoint, and it gets chaotic. And also within that, they have different dynamics to their home lives and their home settings. Not every child is of a 2-parent structured family setting. So there's going to be times in which you're actually going to play a father, whether you like it or even whether you know it or not. That's the reality of this. And once again, that's another reason why it is extraordinary. And I can't speak enough on taking the opportunity of being a coach and being able to be a role model or a person of influence that can definitely help these children that a lot of them need it in the future. So yeah, understand your role. Once again, understanding your organization, what your coaches want from you. Communication. I'm big on communication. Communicating with your players as well. Learning your players individually. Knowing different modes or frequencies of communication. There's certain kids yelling at in this generation, the hard-nosed, in-your-face coaches that we might have been used to, those of us who are probably 30 or up. It differs now, and there's a more softer approach that's necessary with these kids. Once again, we're not always aware of the home life and what they may be dealing with at home. So a harsh voice may be taken in a certain manner if a child is exposed to certain elements and certain ways of living within the home. So it's a lot of psychology that's involved in coaching as well. And I'm sure you'll learn that as the time goes on and you get more and more experience with it. So be mindful of that, understanding roles and knowing that it's more than just coaching X's and O's, splits, your fundamentals of football. And yes, once again, I do not want to diminish the importance of teaching fundamentals. I'm all about that. I'm all about teaching drills and skills, techniques, fundamentals, and creating the best fundamentally sound players to go on, hopefully, to the high school and future levels. Moving on, number 2, communicate well. Player coaches, once again, piggybacking off of number 3. Parents, be clear in your communication. Be very clear in your communication. Uh, what you expect. Um, Everyone in the organization should be clear on your expectations, as well as vice versa. You should be clear on the expectations on the organization. This just makes everything function much smoother, even with parents. Explaining to parents, even something as simple as, hey, listen, your child is not present for practice, therefore I can't allow him to play. Playing your child is a liability. I can't put him in a position that he hasn't practiced enough or doesn't know well enough and possibly risk getting someone injured because of his inability to practice that week or whatever the case may be. Could be a situation like that with coaches. Hey, coach, listen, I'm only available on this particular time or whatnot, so it won't be a situation of why is this person not available or how come they just don't show up or whatever the case may be, and cause an internal issue that could snowball into other issues. Trust me, it's happened before. We're dealing with different personalities here. Keep that in mind. So communication is key. I cannot stress that enough. Communication is so key and paramount into being able to coach effectively. Being able to know how to communicate to your kids so that they understand. You only have a limited amount of time per week or per practice per day. And once again, you're dealing with kids at an age of 7 to 14, 6 to 14. Attention span is another key issue. Very, very short attention span. So you're going to have to figure out how to communicate things effectively, quickly, efficiently, effectively. Whatever, if that's a simple instruction, your game plans, whatever it may be, then that goes across the board for parents as well, because unfortunately adults have very short attention spans as well, and you will learn that with more experience. And last but not least, number one, don't argue football. Don't argue football. Don't argue football. Maintain your ego. Maintain your ego. As I said before, there's a lot of egos. There's super egos. You're dealing with some men who are living vicariously through children. They may not have met all or exceeded their goals that they had for themselves, and this is their second or third childhood in their mind. And so or you just have dudes who are just you'll have the super athlete dude as well. Yeah, we all know the 5-star guy that got recruited to every D1 Power 5 school in the country, and he is irate because the kid didn't get the play right on the second time he showed him. You know, so there's all different types of personalities. Once again, that you're forced to have to work with and find some type of cohesive means of being able to function as a unit with. And so, once again, I go back to your communication. A situation could easily go left when you have ego mixed with horrible communication, mixed with people who don't often have good conflict resolution skills. So I can't stress enough to make sure you don't become a slave of your own ego. Sometimes I'll be honest, sometimes I've been a slave of my own ego, being frustrated on the sideline with a coach and seeing something that they're not seeing, or thinking that maybe I would have definitely called a play in a situation that the coach didn't call at that particular time. And you know, sometimes it comes within the heat of the passion of the game. It's, once again, the sport. So we have to be able to calm ourselves down and also manage the egos that we may encounter. these are the 5 keys for anybody who's trying to get into coaching football. I hope they help. And let's see. Maybe I may be back with some more. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. Peace.